in the arid heart of Australia. With barely a hint of moisture, inhabitants are forced to adjust to a harsh environment. The coasts, in comparison, offer a very different ecosystem for supporting life. An extreme weather system sets off a chain reaction, giving scientists their first chance to witness an extraordinary event. For one of this country's most mysterious inhabitants, the banded stilt, wet weather means it's mating season. Deep in the Australian outback, one of the most successful breeding events in years is about to take place.
What kinds of scientists study birds?
An ornithologist studies how birds live in their environment, as well as their physiology and anatomy. These scientists focus on how birds locate food, and research changes in population across continents. Due to this large weather system, scientists hope to observe something never before documented: the life cycle of a plump-bodied, long-legged wading bird, the banded stilt. The mating ritual of this species has never been seen until now. Ornithologists got their first clues from salt lakes far inland. A favorite meal of the banded stilt is brine shrimp.
So the birds fly to the salt lake for the shrimp?
Yes, that could be one reason. The brine shrimp that last lived in this area left eggs behind that are able to tolerate heat and drought for years. Lying dormant, billions of eggs remain preserved in the dried-up salt lakes. With enough precipitation, these eggs might hatch, causing an explosion in the population of brine shrimp. This is a satellite image of the Category 4 cyclone Bobby. A cyclone is a violent storm originating in the southwestern Pacific Ocean or Indian Ocean. They're comparable to hurricanes that sometimes form in the Atlantic Ocean. This particular cyclone battered the west coast of Australia for days, leaving destruction in its path. Winds up to 200 kilometers per hour chased ships into shelters. Floods damaged property and cut power to many areas.
This storm actually helped the banded stilts?
The storm dumped rain on the normally arid desert. 3 large salt beds were inundated with life-giving water. Within days, billions of tiny crustaceans emerged. Banded stilts come from the tidal shallows and off the coasts, hundreds of kilometers away, to crowd this area, dining in the nutrient-rich estuaries. It's the only water bird dependent upon Australia's arid zone for its breeding habitat.
When do they start showing up?
They start to appear the same day the rain stops and continue to fly in for weeks. Strangely, out of all the space that's available in the flooded lowlands, most of the birds decide to crowd together on just 2 small islands in the lake. Ornithologists have learned that the birds may only get the chance to mate 3 or 4 times in their lives. As they begin to show up, there's a sense of urgency among them. In a short period of time, some 70,000 banded stilts will arrive. This is roughly half of the entire population of Australia. To the average person, there is no visible way to determine males from females. However, their dances during the pursuit of a mate make the difference clear to the ornithologists. Eager males approach females, relentlessly pursuing a mate. The females are not receptive, however. This one straightens her neck upright, a clear sign that she is not interested. Many of the birds are still growing their distinctive breeding plumage. It's the rich chestnut-colored band across the breast. Some females continue to grow the plumage even after they've laid eggs. With the tremendous number of birds, it's no surprise that even banded stilts with a lack of breeding plumage can still find a mate. There is no chance for this male to succeed here. The female is already sitting on her eggs and only becomes annoyed. If a mating is successful, the female stretches out her bill parallel to the ground and waves it back and forth, indicating approval. The pair continues their unique dance of elation. The female will soon lay up to 5 huge eggs.
With all those birds showing up, will the brine shrimp run out?
No, the brine shrimp population is steadily increasing. Algae and bacteria are multiplying to feed the shrimp, and there are no fish or other predators besides the stilts to prey on the shrimp. Within days of hatching, the shrimp are mating. The female shrimp produce around 100 eggs that will hatch in a few short weeks. The banded stilt is one of the few animals that are adapted to feeding in these salty conditions, and the shrimp are an easy, protein-rich meal.
Are baby stilts in any danger?
It can be an arduous task for the new chicks to reach the protein-rich waters because the nests are so close together. With some nesting territories only centimeters apart, and with eggs to protect, some parents become defensive. The chicks must stay close to their parents as they make their way to the water's edge for their first meal. If one strays too far, the adult bird may not be able to come to its rescue. There are 2 other little ones to protect. Becoming disoriented, the stray chick wanders deep into unwelcoming territory. The beach is usually an area of safety. It's rare that the bullying continues here. After the first few days of hatchings, this hostile behavior will cease. The unlucky chick is reaching the end of its strength, but makes one last effort. Finally, it reaches the safety of its parent and the prospect of a nourishing meal. Unlike most species of birds, these chicks, just a few hours old, are able to feed themselves. Shortly after their parents escort them to the beach, the families begin to integrate, and some adults return to the island without their young in an attempt to start another family. Eventually, there will only be a few adult birds watching after a flock of 40 or 50 chicks. The earlier hostility between adults and other chicks ceases as parents turn from bullies to babysitters.
How fast do the chicks grow?
3 weeks after hatching, the chicks are half adult size. Having wandered off from their original nesting sites, the young flocks are still watched over by several adults. It's a crucial time in their young lives. Their down is being replaced by feathers for their long journey back to the coasts. And the salt lakes still contain an abundance of shrimp for nourishment. In the past, the lakes occasionally dried up prematurely because of the lack of follow-up rain. Many chicks in desperate need of food were found wandering on foot through the harsh desert. This year, the follow-up rains have kept the brine shrimp populations high.
When will they return to the coasts?
Nearly 2 months after the storm, the banded stilts begin their journey home. They leave a wake of rotting eggshells, unhatched eggs, and debris. Only 20% of the eggs failed to hatch. Due to the lack of natural predators, most hatchlings survived and flew to the coasts. Shortly after the last birds leave, the water levels begin to recede, and the salinity of the water increases. The brine shrimp prepare for an uncertain future. The dying females sink to the bottom while carrying a different type of egg. It's equipped with a hard outer casing to survive an indeterminate period of dormancy. The salt crystallizes around the shell, forming a shield that protects the eggs while they wait for the next rains to hatch. Now the area is barren and lifeless. It may be years or even decades before the weather allows for this abundance of life again. Due to Cyclone Bobby and some follow-up rains, the banded stilts have had a very successful breeding season. In response to the unpredictability and irregular weather patterns of the Australian outback, the mysterious banded stilts have adapted to uncertainty, ensuring survival of their species.